I'm gonna start up.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the August meeting of the Oak Ridge City Council. Our invocation tonight will be led by Reverend Rory Nave, First Baptist Church of Oak Ridge, and then that will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance from Robertsville Middle School 8th grade students Leah Chittenden, Avery Fisher, Susanna Nave, Ellie McKee, and they're the National Technology Student Association winners. We've got a lot of talent in the room tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So if you would please stand, Reverend Nave.
Let us pray. Holy God, we are grateful for the freedom that we have been afforded this evening to gather together and assemble and practice the great experiment of democracy. Lord, we've each been invested with responsibility because of this freedom. For those who have been elected by the members of this community and invested with power, we pray that you would grant them wisdom to see the will of the people done. For those who are employed by the community of the city to make our lives better, to make our lives safer, and to serve, we pray that your blessings would flow to them commensurate to their service to this city. And for all of the citizens of this community, we pray that above all things, unity would be championed among us, that beyond our differences of opinion and the rancor that often goes with that, we pray that your sense of empathy, of humanity and decency would prevail, and that the betterment of this community and all of those who are living in it would be chief among it. God, bless us as we meet together, bless us as we depart from one another, and bless us until we can meet again. We pray in many names, and I pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Nave. Students?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic of which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ladies. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Pro Tem Dotson.
Here.
Councilmember Gleason.
Here.
Mayor Gooch.
Here.
Councilmember Hammond. Councilmember Hensley. Councilmember Hope.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
All right, I'm, next item of business, and then I think is the proclamations and public recognitions.
Yes.
Before we do that, unless there's objections, I would like to move the election appointments and announcements above the consent agenda, and immediately following that, because there's great interest and there's a lot of people here, the Ethra Transit Service Provider contract following the elections. Is there any objections to doing that? Okay. Ladies, I didn't mean to run you off. Come back up here. I'm just a hair off center tonight, so you're...
Our first item under proclamations and public recognitions is the recognition of the 8th grade Technology Student Association winners from Robertsville Middle School, and I'm going to turn it over to Deputy City Clerk Valerie Lucky.
Hello, thank you girls for being here, for doing the pledge, and we wanted to recognize you for your recent accomplishment. For you all that do not know, these are 4 of the Robertsville Middle School Technology Student Association students. We have Avery Fisher, Ellie McGee, Lila Chittenden, and Susanna Nave. These 4 students, they took on a challenge, and it was called a construction challenge. And what they did is they built a model of the new animal shelter. The project won first place at the Tennessee TSA state competition in April, and then first place this past June in Nashville at their national competition. There were 9,500 in attendance at this competition, and these students won over 48 other contenders in this construction challenge. Now, before they went to their national competition, they presented their competition to, and it's called Muddy Paws, to various city officials, our city manager, Randy Heeman, Councilmember Chuck Hope, Captain Tedford, and our new animal shelter supervisor, Matthew Roby. So I know Chuck was very pleased with their work.
Absolutely. They did a remarkable job in front of the city officials, so much so that I went back and was bragging about them to my mom, and I think my mom interviewed them for the paper interview, so it was awesome to see that. So
Yes.
that was all from just a remarkable show, ladies. Very well done, very well executed. Really appreciate all the hard work.
Thank you, girls.
Next recognition, Madam Clerk.
Our next recognition is the recognition of former Robertsville Middle School teacher and now Oak Ridge High School teacher, Todd Livesay. And I'll let Val do this one too and tell what it is that he's being recognized for.
I just wanted to say a few words about Mr. Livesay. Todd is a 1981 graduate from Oak Ridge High School. He attended the Y-12 Training and Technology Welding Program, and that was during the spring semester of his senior year. He earned his welding certification in June of 1981 and began working that summer as an instrumentation and a pipe welder in North Carolina. Shortly after, he returned home that fall to attend University of Tennessee, and he graduated in 1985 with a Bachelor of Science in Technology and Education. Mr. Livesay began teaching in Knoxville in 1985 and served there until 1999. Then in 1999, he began teaching for Oak Ridge City Schools. His roles have included teaching STEM classes at both Robertsville and Oak Ridge High School. His commitment to education is further reflected in his advanced degrees. He has a Master of Arts in K-12 education from Tusculum College, and that he received that degree in 2005, and an educational specialist degree in administration and supervision from Lincoln Memorial University in 2007. For 4 decades, Todd has been a chapter advisory in career and technology student organizations. He has served as the chapter advisor in AIASA and its successor, the Technology Student Association. From 1985 until present, under his mentorship, students have earned accolades at regional, state, and national levels. His leadership and contributions to TSA have widely been recognized. In 1990, he received the TSA Middle School Advisor of the Year. In 2005, he was inducted as the Tennessee TSA Lifetime Member. In 2023, the Tennessee TSA High School Advisor of the Year. Also in 2023, TSA National Advisor of the Year. And most recently, in 2025, he received the Honorary Lifetime Achievement Award presented at TSA National Leadership Conference. I'm not finished yet, so I'm sure that you guys have heard about Ramstat and the CubeSat launch initiative. Todd was heavily involved with that. Outside of the classroom, he's the owner and operator of Custom Cabinets and Furniture, a business that he's operated in Oak Ridge for 38 years. He and his wife, Kristen, have been married for 36 years, and they are proud parents of 3 children, Laura, Mary, and Sam. He is grandparents to Henry and Eleanor, and he is also an active member of Christ Community Church.
Can we clap now?
Absolutely.
Next item of business, Madam Clerk.
We have a proclamation recognizing Cooperative Agreement of Labor and Management, CALM.
Move to approve.
Second.
And these 2 proclamations tonight, ladies and gentlemen, are extremely important, and I'm going to ask Ms. Hickman to read both of them, and we'll start with the CALM proclamation, please.
Whereas Cooperative Agreement of Labor and Management, CALM, was founded in 1987 by representatives from labor and management at the Oak Ridge Reservation as a partnership between members of the Knoxville Building and Construction Trades Council and their signatory employers to develop and maintain skill of crafts. And whereas the mission of CALM includes activities to promote positive labor management initiatives, as well as development of increased construction employee apprenticeship training, advanced skills training, construction technical education, and safety education. And whereas, as current and future projects in the Oak Ridge area demand a larger workforce in the skilled craft areas, CALM started the East Tennessee Apprenticeship Readiness Program, ETARP, 8 years ago, which is 100% free. And whereas apprenticeships offer the opportunity of immediate employment, allowing participants to learn while they earn. And whereas the program includes a 3-week construction readiness class at Roane State Community College, which consists of construction math, occupational safety and health, and green construction certifications, along with CPR and first aid. And whereas the program also allows face-to-face meetings with union representatives from all 16 building trade unions, and after graduation, CALM assists participants into full apprenticeships. And whereas the East Tennessee Apprenticeship Readiness Program has a 90% job placement rate and just graduated its 200th student. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, that the city hereby recognizes Cooperative Agreement of Labor and Management, CALM, for its vital contributions to the Oak Ridge community and its vital role in the economic growth of Oak Ridge and the surrounding areas.
And I'm going to ask Mr. Hensley to present the proclamation on behalf of the city.
Nothing in our community helps this community and our students and our general quality of life than cooperation between labor, management, and education. And I see it every day at Oak Ridge High School, and I see it every day at Roane State. So thank you for doing that.
you like a word?
Sure, I never
Right here.
miss a moment. Guys, for the mayor, for the city council, thank you so much for the recognition. It's not every day that, you.
Introduce yourself so everybody, those who don't know you will know you.
Jason Andrews, and I have the privilege of guiding the ship that is COM. And look, COM was founded in 1987. I was still playing with G.I. Joes at that point, so it was not me who founded it. But look, I've got a great crew here today with me. I've got Diana Andrews. She also does a lot of our recruitment. She'll be at the job fairs. You'll see her at the high school. Our math teacher, April Watson, doing 40 hours of construction mathematics for our students. And then Chris Ace Branham over here, who also does a lot of their coordination for the ETARC program. And guys, we're just glad to give back to the community, so thank you so much for the recognition here today. It means a lot.
Thank you, Jason. And I just want to say, since its inception, creation, union labor has built this city, it's maintained it, the facilities here, the government facilities, over the years. They've torn them down, they've rebuilt them, they've remediated them. And nothing could be more important to the future of operations and DOE operations and in the nuclear renaissance than the continued cooperation, as Mr. Hensley said, between management, labor, and our educational facilities. So again, I want to really compliment COM. They do a great job. I'm honored every year to have the opportunity to speak to their graduating class. I couldn't make that one this year. But keep in mind, as we move forward, we have got to have a skilled workforce to meet the demands that are coming to and through Oak Ridge. So again, thank you, Jason, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone who's involved with COM. Next proclamation, Madam Clerk.
We have a proclamation, lost the agenda. We have a proclamation paying tribute to William J. Bill Wilcox Jr. in celebration of the opening of the William J. Wilcox K-25 Interpretive Center.
Move to accept.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. I'm going to ask Vice Mayor Dotson to present the proclamation.
Well, first and foremost, there's a lot of things on this proclamation, and I'm not gonna read it all to you, but one of the things I want to convey to you is the importance of somebody like William J. Wilcox Jr. to our community. Not only is somebody who basically founded some of the things that we're doing on the sites, but also a great historian for the city of Oak Ridge. He was the one we had before Ray Smith, and I'm really, really proud to be somebody who knew him at one time. Now, the American Museum of Science and Energy is more than just one facility. We have ANSI, which most of you know about. We also have the K-25 Atomic History Museum. We also have the Portal 4 that will be opening shortly in October probably. And then finally, we have something that will be opening on August the 23rd for the general public, and this is the K-25 Interpretive Center, better known as the Overlook. You can overlook the footprint of the gaseous diffusion plant, which is several acres. I'm going to present this to our executive director, Alan Rowe, and our development director, Jennifer Lee, today. But I think they have a little bit more to say, so I'm going to do it.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, yes.
Here for you, so you have a microphone.
Great, thank you. Good evening, it's Jim Sum, Alan Law. I'm the Executive Director of the American Museum of Science and Energy and the K-25 Atomic History Center, and soon the K-25 William J. Wilcox Interpretive Center. We're very excited and honored to be given that responsibility to run the Interpretive Center when it opens. Really honored to get this proclamation tonight. You know, we're all about STEM and STEAM education.
So what the mayor was saying about workforce development and getting the next generation ready, that's what we're about. And this facility will give us that ability to do even more. So make sure you come out August 23rd. We'll be opening the Interpretive Center. Want to show that off and show off the Atomic History Center and the portal later this year. So thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk, let's see, we concluded our public recognitions, correctly?
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll now go to the amended agenda, and the next order of business will be the election
Okay.
of 2 student representatives to the Environmental Quality Advisory Board.
Okay, and we have actually 14 applicants for 2 positions. And so if you were here, if you will stand or raise your hand as I call your name, you all are going to vote for 2. Ruby Lee Fisher Alba Ladejo, Neely Brown, Miles Bergen, Kelly Collins, Brennan Gleason, Ella Hay, Natalie Jackson, Kalinda Jones, Paige Lawing, Catherine Longpre, Reagan Lukes, Clayton Malott, Leah McVeigh, and Anna Pickle. And again, you're going to vote for 2, and then once we elect the 2, we'll have 2 different terms to choose from.
All right, so let's go with that. So we are electing 2.
Yes, sir.
All right, one, and then we'll decide on the terms later. Let me say this before we vote. This is an outstanding group of applicants, and I just want to commend them. We only have 2 vacancies tonight, but there'll be other vacancies on other boards in the future. And I would just encourage all of you who have applied, if you're not successful tonight, don't be dissuaded from doing it again. These, ladies and gentlemen, these resumes were simply outstanding. And we have seen tonight firsthand what our Oak Ridge school system is doing and has been doing, for many years, and this is just the latest manifestation of it.
Got a quick question. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure as you were reading, was it one student that's here tonight?
I think there's one.
One student, and I missed the name at the pace.
Brennan Gleason.
Brennan Gleason, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. And we can go several rounds, so I've got at least 5 rounds worth of ballots, so it might not take that, but. No, you won't. It'll be okay.
Councilman Hammond votes for Gleason and Lawing.
Well, okay. Louder, okay?
Is my mic working? Councilman Hammond votes for Gleason and Lawing. Councilwoman Smith votes for Jones and Lawing. Councilman Hope votes for Ruby Lee, because I'm going to not say her last name correctly, and Gleason. Mayor Gooch votes for Brown and Gleason. Mayor Pro Tem Dotson votes for Brown and Gleason. Councilman Hensley votes for Gleason and Lukes. And Councilman Gleason abstains.
Okay. Brennan Gleason received 5 votes. Brennan Gleason is elected.
Congratulations, Brandon.
And I believe you're a senior this year, correct, Brennan? Okay. All right, so we'll do round 2 for the second person. And obviously, everybody's still in play except Brennan. I can't get it. I can't get it off. Okay, yeah. So everybody else is still on there except Brennan. He's been elected. And just for your information, we do have a one-year term and a two-year term. So if that helps you at all, as a senior probably wouldn't want to do the two-year term. We're just thinking that through. But that's up to you all.
Councilman Hammond votes for Brown. Councilwoman Smith votes for Brown. Councilman Hope votes for Brown. Mayor Gooch votes for Brown. Mayor Pro Tem Dotson votes for Brown. Councilman Hensley votes for Ruby Lee. And Councilman Gleason abstains.
Okay, Neely Brown got 5 votes, so Neely Brown is elected.
Okay, congratulations, Neely.
Now, now the next step is the election to the 1-year and the 2-year terms. So someone can make a motion, or we can do it by ballot, either way.
I move that we appoint Gleason to the 1-year term because he's a senior, and appoint Neely Brown to the 2-year term because she's a sophomore, and we'll have 2 years to do it.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
And that's it.
Okay. And Ms. Hickman, remind everyone when our next elections will be.
Main elections will be scheduled for January, but if vacancies come up between now and then, the council reserves the right to fill those vacancies as they come up. So,
Okay, thank you. All right. The next item of business is we are moving to item G under resolutions, and that is the ETHRA service provider contract.
okay. A resolution for the city to enter into the attached contract with East Tennessee Human Resources Agency, ETHRA, for operation and management of the city's public transit system in an amount not to exceed $230,000, which contract is contingent upon the city's receipt of grant funding from the Tennessee Department of Transportation for partial funding of the city's operating expenses for the transit program.
Move to accept.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So we brought this to council in May, and then we brought it back to work session in July. And during that work session, some of the materials were received same day, so you didn't have the advantage of reviewing those in advance. Mayor Gooch requested a summary of those, which has been attached to the agenda packet this time. So I'll go into contract elements and some citizen concerns. We've got expanded service hours, and in my summary of contract negotiations, I incorrectly said new Saturday service that already exists. But our hours are extended from 8 a.m. or from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. to 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. So we've got an hour on every side, either side, that allows greater flexibility for people that work a full 40-hour work week to participate in that. And as an aside, there's also a separate ride-to-work program that ETHRA offers. Regarding system data and the mobile app, it was pointed out that some of the successes mentioned were not actually a result of the contract negotiations, but were already underway. And that's true of these two. ETHRA was already using Ecoline software and developing a mobile app. What's new to this is that the Ecoline software can generate reports directly to the city, or not directly to the city, but we can receive those with our monthly reporting from ETHRA, which we've requested and put in the contract. And citizen feedback supported both of these features, and it was part of our RFP process, so it was just kind of lucky that they already had those underway. Customer feedback mechanism, there's a new online form. It hasn't been rolled out yet, but once we're contracted, it will be made public, where riders can submit their concerns or compliments to ETHRA, and city will have unaltered access to those. And it's a supplement to existing feedback channels, so it's not to replace the other methods of feedback that customers already have, which would be calls to the city or emails. ETHRA has a 1-800 line with a customer service coordinator. And then there's ETHRA's transit director and assistant director that continue to be available for those concerns. In the contract, we'll have quarterly meetings between ETHRA and the city to review performance, address concerns, and identify opportunities for improvement. That was something that we hadn't been doing previously in our contracts that needs to happen. Annual review prior to renewal, so it's proposed to be a 1-year contract with 9 renewal options. Prior to that renewal option, that we would review performance metrics and rider feedback to weigh in on that. I think a contentious item is carry-on items and the fare. The original goal and listed in the RFP was to increase the carry-on bag limit from 3 to 5 to better support riders, especially those relying on ETHRA transit for grocery shopping and other essential trips. ETHRA's concern is that there's space constraints. They relayed some anecdotes that indicated that had posed some problems for getting the amount of passengers that were scheduled to pick up on the buses before. And just for context, I just wanted to kind of paint how ridership has grown over the past 3 fiscal years. So in FY23, ridership was just over 6,000 trips. In FY24, it was just over 7,500 trips. In FY25, we're at 9,800 trips. And for that last year, it's about 500 individual users. So I kind of can see the perspective on that posing a space concern. So the city manager and I countered saying, you know, that could be a financial burden for people to have to go to the grocery store to make multiple trips to get the level of groceries. And ETHRA had proposed that we waive fare fees. So that is something that's been included in our contract draft. It would be a trial to see how it went the first year and see what those impacts look like to ridership, and also our payment of services. You know, we'll have a fixed dollar amount on our contract, but what will that look for ETHRA supplementing us with their FTA funds? To be determined. And then scheduling for stops, we had requested to shorten the 24-hour advance schedule notice. We had a modest improvement in that. So now it's 24 hours or 3 p.m. the day before, whichever is less. And that's what I've got for you.
Okay. Ms. Smith?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, all right. Mr. Hensley?
Yeah, I attended 2 of the sessions at the senior center where citizens had input. And I noticed with the quarterly performance evaluation meetings and annual review process, how do citizens get input to that?
The intent is for them to use the feedback mechanisms that are in place. So we'll review the feedback that's been given over the past quarter and take that with us into our meetings.
So they'll provide input through their phone or through the city or
through the
letters?
existing channels plus the added channel for
How will
customers.
they provide input?
So the new feedback form will live on the website at the ETHRA. We also have a new website that'll be rolling out.
Is it on the app that you talked about?
No, it's not on the app, unfortunately.
It's on the city website maybe?
That's something we've discussed with ETHRA to see if they're able to add that to that software, but I don't know that the service provider for that is able to. So that's something they're looking into. But right now, the draft that we've got going is online submission form.
Okay, but there is an online submission form that's easy to find.
Well, it will be once it's live.
Okay.
It's not live now, but it will
Easy,
be live. Yeah.
Easy is important.
Yeah.
The other question is, you state over here, when not to use the vehicles shall be stored at the Ethra's Oak Ridge facility. Where is the Ethra Oak Ridge facility?
It's on Emory Valley. Do you know the exact location?
C&D Tower?
Yeah.
General Sessions location.
Those, I know it's at the county clerk's, that facility, but I don't know which part of that they have.
For demand response trips, Ethra shall accept trip reservations up to 24 hours in advance or 3 p.m. prior to service, whichever. Ethra will make every reasonable effort to accommodate. Is this gonna be a system where they can pick up multiple riders through the trip? They don't have to carry one and come back and get another one, they can
Yeah, that's
coordinate it?
correct. That's how it currently functions, and that's how it will continue to function.
Yes, and I hope that's gonna be some kind of computer-generated
It-
system.
So-
It is, and that's part of the reason for, the advance notice, so that they can program all that, so that they are efficient trips. We did go over and see how that system works, and that's part of it.
The other question I had, and I can't see, I'm looking for my note here, but it said that a person can reserve a ride prior to 3 o'clock on the day before. Is that correct? So it's not 24 hours anymore. It's the day before 3 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Dodson?
Yeah, this is a quick question. I've asked it a couple of times. I want to make sure that you haven't already said this. So, again, I appreciate when a service repair person comes to my home and be able to track the vehicle with the app. Is this something that is embedded in that app that we'll be able to do if you're riding Ethra?
Yes, sir. I did a pilot test of it and used that in the mapping feature. I have an Apple phone, and it worked fine, and I'm told from others that it works on Android as well.
Okay, thank you.
Adams, yeah.
Yeah, I'm very pleased and impressed with the effort that you went to negotiate this with Ethra and the improvements that were achieved. I realize that there are lots of things people would like to see here, but we can't have everything. And this is a great improvement, I believe, and I hope it works out that way for our users. It's interesting that Ethra proposed the no-fee arrangement. I think that will save them a lot of administrative effort as well as bus driver time that was otherwise devoted to collecting money and figuring out how much people needed and making change. So that's probably a good improvement from that regard. But I expect it also will increase revenue, increase ridership, which may in the long run help us support the future expansion of the program by showing a demand, and that's good. I think it's a reasonable price for the city to pay to make that happen and see how it works. So I'm pleased with that. There's one thing going through the contract and thinking about it that I just wondered about is whether there's any provision in their rules for people who don't show up for a ride that they booked. Historically, they might be asked to pay, but if we're not asking them to pay in the trial period, do they have rules to say you can't have more than 3 no-shows and continue to get booked rides or something?
They do have a no-show policy, and I can't remember it off of the top of my head, but I think it's on the last page of the contract.
Okay.
And if it's not, I know that they have one, and I think it is 3 rides within a X amount of time frame, but I can't remember exactly what it is.
Okay, so there is a provision to make sure people take the service seriously. Thanks.
Mr. Hammond?
Okay, yeah, that was sort of along the lines where I was. Just wanted to make sure that the fees were eliminated. And then also, you note on here that the app has been tested by a group, and you list some individuals here. And you note what the app can do, but not necessarily the feedback from the individuals who tested the app. Was there anything in particular that they said about it, easy to use but glitchy? Or sort of what feedback did the test group actually give?
I can only speak to my feedback because the feedback went directly to Ethra because they're the one that have the contract with the software company. My feedback was pretty positive, with the exception of when I tried to zoom in on the map, it would refresh, and then I would have to get back to the spot I was on the map. But I think that could be a little bit better. But otherwise, like booking, paying, seeing where the bus was en route, you could set automatic or accept push notifications so you could see when your bus was 5 minutes away, which was pretty handy.
Okay.
Anything else, Ms. Ham? No. Okay, all right. Ms. Smith?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Dodson.
Oh, sure.
We're just going to come back to a question, and you may have already answered this, but if not, the point of contact, will that be the rider making his or her way to the Ethra bus? Or in some instances, I know we have riders that need some assistance for whatever reason. Will that driver be able to assist in those situations, having somebody coming from their front door, if you will, to the bus?
So the service is for curb-to-curb services, not door-to-door services. However, there are ADA laws that stipulate the drivers, I don't know if it's a law or a policy actually, help non-ambulatory riders. So there are provisions for that.
Would it include people with sight disadvantages as far as getting them to the bus as well?
I'm not familiar with the law.
Okay. I mean, it's just something that I think would be more convenient if we could look at that, because I think it's almost as important to get them to the bus as it is to take them where they're going and bring them back. So I would like for you, if you could look into that a little bit more. I think that would be something that would be important.
Okay, and I think we can, I'm sure Ethra could provide us with a copy of what they're legally bound to.
That specific
to.
part, I would
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Smith?
Yeah, just questions about the app. I also did a little bit of testing on the app and found some things that I had a little bit of difficulty with. Mostly I was trying to book rides, and I couldn't figure out sometimes how to enter my destination because the system wanted my destination in the form that I didn't have it. But I found that once I got that information, I could enter it, and I also found that Ethra was really good at explaining to me what needed to be done to get that information in. So I would say when people first start using the app, there's going to be a learning curve, but Ethra will be helpful in giving advice and getting things going.
All right, any other questions or comments by council? All right, so are the members of the audience wishing to address council on this matter? Okay. All right, if you would, if y'all would come forward, just line up one after the other. And if you would give your name and address, please.
Sure. I guess I'm going to go first. Robert Walker, 107 Deerfield Lane, Oak Ridge. We've tried to divide this up so that we would fit within the time constraints that we have.
Okay.
So we're trying to make this bite-sized. Multiple unresolved issues require additional time to process the issues that have been presented in the pros contracts, which have not previously been introduced to the public, that affect the continuity and sustainability of the Oak Ridge Transit System. During contract negotiations, the City of Oak Ridge requested riders to be permitted to carry up to 5 shopping bags on the return visit from shopping. Ethra counteroffer was to demand the shopping bags be limited to 3 shopping bags per trip. This sounds like a kind of a small quibble on the surface. But the surprise was, in exchange for this reduced limitation of the number of bags, Ethra, out of the clear blue, proposes that riders' fares be waived. That was kind of a surprise. No one asked for free service. So that was not a request that was made by the city or the users. Even though riders might not be charged a fare directly, and this sounds like an advantage for the riders, the city of Oak Ridge would be invoiced for 2 trips for 5 bags. So if I rounded the $29.10 a trip to $30, if you figure the cost a round trip would be $60, now you've got 2 round trips. Now it's $60 more for 2 extra bags. That's how silly this idea is. And it's going to, whatever the budget is that we have planned for this service, it's going to reduce the number of rides that we can purchase with the budget that we have. So for those of you who like to keep an eye on the budget, you've got to think ahead on what the implications of this mean. Sounds great, riders get to ride for free. That was only $20,000. It was the amount that was being collected. I would suggest that not having to collect $20,000 and account for it and keep it secure, that is a bonus for ETHRA, not as much or more than for the riders. I think really the reason that ETHRA is offering to waive the user fee is obvious, that it's an increase in income for them with reduced expenses. So this is a joyride for ETHRA as far as I'm concerned. It's not the shiny bead that it looks like at first. And then the final thing, I guess I'm done.
Mr. Walker, thank you.
Where's the microphone?
You try.
I'm sorry. Okay.
You're good.
Marion Wildgruber, 122 Connors Drive, but I would like to make a statement, please, for Lynna Nicholas, 127 Georgia Avenue. She's not able to be here tonight because she had an accident on Saturday when her wheelchair tipped at a broken piece of pavement on the sidewalk on Georgia Avenue, tipping her into the street and breaking bones in her face. And she would have been here tonight if I had gotten a response to my email asking if the agenda item could be moved up on the agenda. It was placed at the end of the agenda, which is already, as she said, sounds the desensitivity in what people with disabilities face in trying to get to city council meetings to make their voices heard. May I have 3 minutes to give a statement for Lynna Nicholas, please?
Go ahead.
Thank you. She wanted to relay to you the amount of years we have been working and speaking to you on behalf of people with disabilities in Oak Ridge. As you know, we came here 4 years ago, requesting a disability advisory board so that people with disabilities in Oak Ridge could have a voice. Fortunately, that request was granted, and for 3 years we have been evolving and working hard to do outreach and get surveys done, do disability fairs in Oak Ridge, and find out what people in Oak Ridge need and try to relay that to you all on City Council. It's very difficult because people with disabilities seldom leave their homes. It's very difficult because transportation is one of the main factors involved in people with disabilities gaining employment, getting their shopping done, getting to medical appointments, getting out of the house to socialize or do anything that makes their lives enjoyable and gives a quality of life. The Oak Ridge Transit System, paratransit system, is something that Lynna and I have been working on for 5 years. This contract renewal has been part of Lynna's life and mine for that long. She needs this service because she's unable to transfer in and out of other people's cars. She's unable to go out in the evenings or on Sundays. So we are here, she is, asking you to consider that we're
trying to represent people in Oak Ridge that you may not hear from, but who need a voice. And so I don't know if my time's up for
No,
Lena.
you've got 55 seconds.
Okay, thank you. As far as this contract goes, you know, her concern is one that I will also state with the quarterly meetings that are proposed in the contract to only be between city staff and ETHRA staff. We believe, or she believes, that the people that ride Oak Ridge Transit need to be at the table during those quarterly meetings to give their own input and their own perspective, because no one else can have that same perspective and experience. Very few people do those comment forms. And it's been her experience when she has complained to ETHRA that that does not get back to.
Ms. Wildgruber, those 3 minutes have expired, so you're now on your time.
Thank you. Marion Wildgruber, 122 Connors Drive. As Robert said, we split up some of the points that I have on the contract because I could speak for half an hour. And one of the things about the bag limits, and I don't want to go down that bunny trail, but my head would explode if I did. The idea that ETHRA, and I just have to say this, the idea that ETHRA would suggest that is the most absurd and insulting thing that I have ever heard. The idea that to save $4, someone with a disability, a senior, a mother with children, or a child with a developmental disability would save $4 to go back and get 3 more of those small plastic grocery bags to save ETHRA the hassle of allowing them onto the bus with extra bags is unbelievable. And what I figured out this afternoon is that our city manager did not stand up for the city, for the people in Oak Ridge who ride ETHRA, who can't get to where they need to go, and say to ETHRA, that's absurd. Instead, he brought the idea to you here at City Council and put it in the contract. And I find that just abominable. Moving on to my 2 points, which are representation and accountability. Again, we need to have representation at the quarterly meetings, which was promised to us by the city manager. And I felt it was a concession made during the city manager transportation task group meetings, which ended a year ago, except for one in December. And we wanted to have the contract be 3 to 5 years because transportation options are changing rapidly. But instead, the city manager wanted a 10-year contract. And the idea was, with having users at the table in these quarterly meetings, we could give timely input on quality of service that could be used by ETHRA and heard by the city. So I request that that be put back into the contract. Accountability. This is not part of the contract, but I want it heard now. We've said it before, one of the major requests and problems in the past has been that there's never been anyone on the city staff responsible for this program, and that has been a serious flaw. There's never been anyone besides someone taking the money and ticking the boxes on the grant. And so not having someone at the city to oversee what ETHRA's doing, to take in the reports and review them, to meet with people in the community and riders. Oh, I lost my mind.
Your time's expired. Thank you.
Gene Spayevsky, 102 Dasher Lane. I've been asked to read a statement from Tom Burns, who lives on East Drive, who is out of town. The new contract is good, but progress won't be realized if the city ignores the program as it did for decades past. City staff needs to include users and public generally in assessing performance of the contractor. And if ridership stays high, the city should reassure users that it will provide the funds needed to continue the program. For myself, I was going to mention how important it is to see what the customers think about the service that they are receiving, as well as assessing the people who are delivering the service. And I was glad to hear you mention that. However, I question the sufficiency of just having forms for people to fill in. Generally, the only people who are going to do that are people who are really upset with it. You're not learning about the other side, and you're probably not even learning a lot about all of the people who are upset with the service. So I think there needs to be other means to assessing the users of the system to see what they think about the service that they are receiving. And I also agree that in talking about assessing how the system is operating, that the system needs a manager. It can't be diffused in any organization. It needs a person who is responsible for how that system operates, for assessing how it's being performed by the contractor, as well as how the people using it feel about it. A couple of other things I will agree with. I think a 10-year contract is absolutely ridiculous. The world is changing too quickly, and I think it's changing too quickly in this city for us to have a 10-year contract. It should have been a perhaps 2 or 3 year contract, even shorter than suggested, so that a serious review could take place at the end of that time in letting a new contract. I also agree that quarterly meetings should include input from the customers, perhaps talking with the provider to see what's happening. And a 3-bag limit for people doing for grocery shopping is absolutely ridiculous also. I see no necessity for that. That's it. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Commissioner Anthony Allen, and I represent District 6. And I'm here to really talk about and to thank you for what you're doing with this contract.
Mr. Allen, Commissioner, you need to give us your address.
Excuse me?
Give us your address.
Yes, 109 New Bedford Lane. And I'm here to really thank you for what you're doing with this contract. I think it's very, very important. We've heard people give their technical details about likes and dislikes of the contract. But I want just to commend you for being such a caring and kind council, caring for the older people of our community. I've been in this community for almost 40 years. I know all of you here, and you also know me, and I just want to thank you for that. If I remember correctly, this effort was started years ago under Will Mentor. Is that correct? I think Will Mentor was one that started this program, and I think he would be very, very proud to see how it has progressed. The first effort was just like a regular bus booking system. There was no technology there, and now you have added into the contract these, very, very wonderful apps. And I think this is what makes the Oak Ridge community such a great community. So I just want to commend you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else wishing to address council on this issue? All right. Questions or comments? Mr. Dodson?
Yeah, I'm going to start off with summarizing some of the things I heard from the audience members and those who are receiving the service from ETHRA. Some suggestions that I would have us look at this evening: the bag limit, the 3, possibly moving that to a 5-bag limit if there's any way possible. I'm just going to ask you if you can jot those things down, because I got 2 more suggestions.
It's currently at 4 in this contract. It was at 3 and it was raised to 4.
To 4, okay.
Yes.
Mr. Heyman, if there's any way we can look at possibly going to 5. I know how small bags are when we go grocery shopping, and can't get much in those. So it kind of depends on the size of the bag. So if we could look at that. Again, something was brought up tonight, and that is having to do with the contract length, rather than 10 years, and I know it's renewable every year, but is it possible, and Mr. Spewski, I brought this up, is it possible to limit that to more of a 3-year contract rather than 10-year contract? And I don't know, Kendall, if you're the one who can answer that, or if that's a Mr. Heeman question, or if that's a legal question.
So it's a 1-year contract that has up to 9 renewals upon mutual consent. And so when it was brought back to city council previously, you did approve that term length and then asked the city manager to negotiate a contract. So that term length is what's built into this resolution. It's what's built into the contract. It doesn't mean that's what the city has to do. And if you do want to make that
An amendment.
if you do want to make it shorter, we could make it shorter.
Okay.
If you want to remove the city manager's ability to renew it and require that it come back to city council after so many years, you could. You have some flexibility there.
And I'll back away from that at this point because there's probably going to be some more discussion from city council with regard to something like that. I'm going to move down to the third thing, and I think it's really important to have a customer satisfaction, or in some cases dissatisfaction survey that could address some of the things that we heard tonight. And I would start with the members of the Disability Advisory Board, and then I'd also branch out to those people who are serviced by ETHRA and see what we can do as far as gathering information that would assist us. I know there's a means that ETHRA has to do that, but apparently from the conversation, we can do better. So those are 3 things that I would like for us to consider this evening. If I need to, I can make an amendment a little bit later, but I wanted to hear what other council members had to say. Thank you.
Mr. Hammond.
Quick question. One thing that I'm trying to gauge, and apparently the thought was off, so I'm just going to ask and be a little bit transparent, because I did not have the opportunity to deep dive into this as I would have liked, and I don't always have the opportunity to do that. When I don't have the opportunity to do that, then I draw from what citizens either communicate to me, or sort of what I perceive the level of input that they have in the proposal that's being made. I voted no on something just last month simply because it wasn't about the project. I just didn't have an opportunity to talk to folk, and when they came and said, we're not with this, I just voted no just because I wanted to honor that thought and that voice. So as I was reading this and I saw names, I sort of lightly referenced it earlier. I guess I got a sense from what I saw that the people who brought the concerns last month had some thoughts, or there's been some communication with them about the revised contract. Say, hey, here's sort of what we've got, much like they were a part of the app. Hey, here's the app, test this out, see if it works. They're also a part of, hey, eyeball this. Here's what you all said you wanted, sort of here's what we are thinking. Was there any conversation with the people who brought the concerns, and whoever they may be, or however you may have done that? Was there any community feedback on this kind of what we've got in front of us with the people who brought the concerns last month?
We did not share the contract with the public before it was shared with
not the contract, but
city council. I've been in pretty regular email communication with the group of folks, and they also had substantial input into the RFP, which influenced the contract heavily.
Sure. And so I guess what I'm sort of surprised by is the response to, for example, the no fare. I'm trying to process how they were a part of the conversation when, and I'm not saying they see the contract in advance, but they're, hey, here's this, what are you all's thoughts on these kinds of things? And to get something that appears to be acceptable, and please be quiet while I'm talking. Do I need to just let them talk?
Gentlemen?
He can't hear? Okay. Okay, I want to make sure he's taken care of. It's a Rotary buddy of mine, amen. Okay, so I'm just trying to make sure, I'm trying to reconcile
So-
what we've got versus what I'm hearing and understand how, to what extent was their input a part of what is in front of us, if that question makes sense.
It does, and the fair, for example, that you referenced was proposed the same day I brought it to work session. So work session was the format that it got to the public. And then I did have subsequent emails from citizens about that.
And they said they,
There was mixed feedback. Some did not like the idea and some did like the idea.
okay. Just on the, I'm not gonna say anything else after this, but just on the, just the spirit of me not knowing, I hadn't had an opportunity to communicate with Robert or the team, then I'm not gonna support, but, you know, something else may come up. But it's really for the same reason I didn't support a project relatively recently, and that's because I have not had an opportunity to engage the folk, and I'm not comfortable that the input has been adequately reflected in what's in front of me. So that's going to be my thought.
Mr. Hensley?
Yeah, I agree with most of what I'm hearing here, but the thing that I would like to see is, you know, over on, under performance reviews, quarterly performance review meetings with city staff, I don't have a problem with that. But I think that the annual performance review that will take place before renewal term commences, I think that should involve the users and the riders. And I think it should be like we had at the senior center, where the public's invited to come in and state their experiences with the service. I thought those meetings were very productive. I thought that the representatives of ETHRA learned a lot from that, and I think it will be the same in this case. And I think the 5-bag limit is ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous. It all depends on what the clerk puts in the bag when you go to the grocery store. You know, and sometimes I don't get a bag. What if I go in there with my jug of milk and it's not in a bag? Does that count as a no bag or a one bag? You know, it's really kind of silly. And I do think also that that any input that we get on the city website through the complaint process, are those going to be tracked by a city employee?
They will actually be on an ETHRA-owned website that the city will have unfiltered access to.
Okay.
And you can, the way it's set up now, you can drill into them, the staff person, probably me, will drill into them individually, or a report will be able to be generated to, you know, kind of synthesize the information into a
Thank you.
spreadsheet.
And that's going to be available on a constant basis, especially at the quarterly reviews and the annual reviews.
Yeah, those will be used to
And
influence those
relative-
reviews.
Relative to the length of the contract, a 10-year contract that gets renewed every year is really a one-year contract.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
I mean, we can terminate the contract every year if we want to and start over.
Yes, and, you know, if the first year, for example, is with fares waived and we find that trial period isn't amenable to us, we can amend the contract to reinstate fares or whatever the item might be.
Sure. Thank you.
I would like to add one comment to that, and that is, those meetings that were held were all held because the city manager's office wanted input. They were not part of any contract with ETHRA. There isn't anything that prohibits us from gathering additional information, and I agree completely with your comment. At that one-year period, you know, we will look at the quarterly reports, but we'll also gather more input. So I just want to say that's outside of the contract, and that's something that we would do anyway with any contract, to be honest.
Thank you, and I do remember you attended at least one of the meetings that I was at the senior center. Thank you.
Ms. Smith?
Yeah, I appreciate that comment on the contract in meetings, because I was going to make that comment. Appreciate that, Mr. Heeman. Regarding the bags, every time I hear this, I'm thinking that if people got a couple of large cloth grocery bags, they could easily take care of a lot of what goes into the 5 bags they want to carry in possibly just 2 larger bags. And Ethra, in the contract, suggested only plastic grocery bags, but I believe that if people had material compactly placed in one of the bags that I carry at the grocery store, they could be on the bus and it wouldn't be a problem with extra bags. So maybe we could make some sort of arrangement for people to get reusable bags, sturdy ones, so that they don't have to deal with the 4-bag limit.
A short comment on that. I think that the plastic grocery bag was likening it to a size, not promoting plastic bags.
But some of the
But
some of those other bags are basically the same size. They just have more in them.
Yeah.
So,
We heard some anecdotes of people bringing duffel bags, which ended up limiting space for other passengers.
yeah.
And I know that's probably not a common occurrence, but I think it's something that Ezra is trying to protect against.
Well, maybe we could arrange to get City of Oak Ridge transit bags or something that would allow people to get a little bit more groceries on and stay under the 4-bag limit. Just a thought.
Mr. Dodson, back to you.
I mean, seriously, I think Councilwoman Smith brings up an interesting point, and that's the standardized size of these bags. Again, you could have 3 bags and you would be fine if they were larger. Or you can have 5 bags and not be so fine if they're smaller. And it's how they're packed as well. I don't know how much of an expense it would be for the city of Oak Ridge to supply these bags for these people who are on Ethra to use those. Again, it's a standardized bag that you do, and then you can assess it by, okay, we can do 3 of these bags. Otherwise, I'm going to probably make an amendment or a motion that we increase the size or the number to 5 bags, because I've heard that from several members of council as well as from the audience members here. I go back, and I think Mr. Heeman is probably right on the contract with regards to it being renewed yearly. Again, it's a 1-year contract, however you slice it. If it's 9 or 10 years, you have to renew it every year. But I think it's really important to have input from members of the community at that annual renewal. I know you all do it systematically, quarterly, if you will, but I think that one needs to be inclusive of a lot of particularly the riders. So I would just suggest that we make that very understandable, that at that one, we have members of the community who are utilizing that service.
What's the current expiration date of this contract? September 30th. September 30th. September 30th.
Current contract expires September 30th. You extended it at the prior meeting where you discussed Ethra.
Okay. And as it relates to what has been presented by staff tonight and at the work session, has this been in its current form, what's before us, has it been agreed to by Ethra?
Yes. In its current form in the packet, it's been agreed to by
Right, in the
Ethra.
packet? So any amendments that were adopted tonight would have to go back to Ethra for review and consultation and hopefully approval.
Yes,
But it's
sir.
not automatic.
Yes, sir.
What happens if we don't renew the contract by September the 30th?
If you don't enter into a new agreement, then we would be asking you to extend the current agreement that we have again, or we wouldn't have service.
Okay.
I mean, that's where we would be on that.
Mr. Hope, I'm sorry.
Kendall, is it strictly from your talking with Ethra representation, is it quantity of bag versus size of bag? I mean, reason I worry about size of bag is there may be people that have physical limits on how they could carry something bigger. You know, if you take a knapsack and carry it over your shoulder to put your groceries in, you may not be physically able to lift it to get it onto the bus to start with. Even though it all fit in one bag, you just can't lift the bag. So I'm trying to figure out exactly if it's the quantity of bags versus, and I realize that some riders may take the bags and put them in the seat next to them, and it eliminates a seat for the after they use to move somebody. So I'm trying to understand that. Is it size of bag, or is it the quantity of the bags that?
I think it's the space constraint that it poses, so probably the quantity is.
Yeah,
Just
3 large bags may take up the same equivalent to 5 smaller plastic bags would
Yeah,
take up.
it's the concern for the space constraint.
Okay, space constraint. And there's no, in any of the current formats that the buses preside in, there's not any actual space on the buses that are strictly for just cargo. In other words, it has to sit next to the person that's on the bus, or sits in the seat or underneath the seat where they're at, versus there's not like a space, a cargo space where stuff can be put on. For example, you know, a big size bus sometimes has undercarriage cargo space. Now, I know these buses don't have that, but there's no designated cargo area where contents can be put on.
On the bus that I've ridden, which was the same driver every time, so I think it was the same bus, and I think they're identical, I did not observe any cargo space.
Okay.
Mr. Dotson.
Yeah, I'm just going to come back to this. Listening to the people in the audience who utilize this service, one of the subjects that came up quite a bit was the number of bags. I know from our conversation, we're not going to necessarily purchase 3 City of Oak Ridge bags that are a certain size. So I would just suggest that, well, I'm going to step in here, and hopefully legal can guide me through this. I'm going to step in here and make an amendment to the contract that we up this to 5 bags. And let me know if I'm going down the wrong path, Ms. Rackard.
It would be an amendment to the contract, yes.
Okay.
Because it's not in the resolution document itself, it's in the contract.
So I
So
would
you'd
make-
be asking us to amend the contract to change the number of bags from 4 to 5. Because the contract currently says 4.
We need a second.
You would absolutely need a second, and then you'd have to vote on it, and then it would,
Wait a minute, wait a minute, Mr. Henry.
yeah. It would be similar to amending the text of the resolution, because what you're doing is you're amending the attachment to the resolution. So yes, you would do a motion, a second, a vote on that, and then you would vote on the resolution as amended, because you're amending the attachment to the resolution.
All right, so Mr. Dotson, restate your motion.
Well, my motion is to increase the number of bags from 4 to 5. And this is on the contract, correct, Ms. Rackard? Thank you.
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Moved and seconded. All right, discussion, Mr. Hammond?
Yeah, a couple quick questions. For clarity, the 5 bags was the request of the citizens, is my understanding.
And we requested it of Ethra, and Ethra said 4, correct, and.
Right, but it originated with the citizens. I'm just trying to make sure I got a
Correct.
sense
That's
of the 5 bags is coming from the request of the citizens. Okay. And so that's the first question. The second question is, when we talk about, they're concerned with the bag limits and the spacing, they quoted the numbers that they're seeing the increases. Given the number of vehicles that they have and that we see, it's usually not a full bus. It's usually just a couple of folk on the bus anyway. And so if they're concerned about the spacing and they only have an average of 3 or 4 people on a 10-passenger bus, then why is that? I mean, how are they justifying spacing concerns when that's the ridership per bus?
I'm going to extrapolate from what I've heard at the relay, but they have encountered that problem before. And that's the concern. I don't think it's arbitrary that they're wheedling over a couple of bags. And I know it's not in the city's desire to limit people's carry-on items.
Sure, and so, I mean, do you know the scope of that concern? Because I guess experientially, you know how corporate says this is an issue that we've got, but then experientially, you just don't see that. So I'm trying to reconcile the 3 or so passengers that typically may ride a bus, or 4, given how it's scheduled and how they map it out. I don't see full Ethra buses. And so this concern about constraint, when there's so much spacing on the bus now, not understanding that. And
Well, I think it's pretty simple.
okay,
They don't want 5 bags because if they agree to it for us, then it sets a precedent for another contract that they're having.
I think that
And-
you also bring up a good point about the data that we
So there
can
isn't any
pull from the software.
justification for it, in my mind.
gotcha.
What are the capacity loads? We can ask for data on the capacity that they have at peak times, potentially.
Sure. And I think ultimately for me, in that sense, if we're going to go back to an issue where it's clear that the citizens, this is what they've asked, then some sort of justifiable, whatever that might be, reason for accepting the concession on something that has been stated that's such a significant negotiating point and experientially doesn't necessarily add up.
Mr. Hensley, then Mr. Hope.
I got a question for you, Mayor, and also for the city attorney. I would like to add another clause to the amendment. And that would be that we also, in the annual performance reviews, we have face-to-face meetings.
You can't do that. We'll have to do one amendment at a time.
Okay.
Okay. We'll deal with the bag amendment and then.
Forgive me.
Okay. Mr. Hope.
Kendall, to me, it's got to be, we've got to somehow or another ask Ethra to quantify a cubic space. Okay? How much cubic space do we have to provide the service if somebody's going to a store and putting in there? The bags could be, it's just not, it doesn't quantify enough to say it's 4 or 5 bags. I mean, how many bags does it take to fill up a grocery cart? I mean, what if they carry out a package of paper towels? I mean, does that count as a bag? It's got to be down to you're allowing the passenger and so much cubic feet of space for that passenger to have whatever merchandise or whatever cargo they are carrying back. They may be going to the library and buying used books from the library sale. Does that quantify as 5 bags? I don't know. I mean, that's very, very hard to understand that. If they were given us, to be able to give us to say, hey, each passenger can bring on each trip 3 cubic feet of space, how much is that? I mean, it would be easier to understand that versus quantifying it in a shopping bag setup. So that we could understand their restraints and their limitations on what they're allowing. Is it what can fit in their lap? Is it what can fit under the seat? It'd be easier to understand that if we were given a specific amount of space they're allowed to bring on or be able to fill in their trip.
All right, Ms. Smith.
Yeah, on the bag dimensions, this is not what I intended to talk about. The contract says grocery bags 12 inches by 7 inches by 22 inches was the number they were looking at. So we can quantify that as a volume. And I continue to believe that if you had a couple of canvas bags of that dimension, you would have more stuff in them than if you have the clerk put one box of cereal in each of 5 plastic bags or something. But one thing I've wondered in hearing about Ethra's concern about number of bags is whether they have a concern about whether the passengers are physically capable of carrying that many bags, or whether they've had experience of having to basically, take grocery bags to the door for customers who got 5 grocery bags but could only carry 2 at a time, or 3 at a time. And has that been an issue that they've raised at all?
That's something that we brought up regarding curb to curb versus door to door in ambulatory passengers.
Okay.
So it has been brought up in discussions, but I don't know exactly who all it applies to, as Councilperson Dodson pointed out. There's some clarification. I don't know what the law is
Yeah.
on what the requirements are for assistance on that particular item. I know when I rode, there was an ambulatory rider who what seemed physically capable to me, but the driver did disembark and retrieve their bags with them and help them onto the bus. But that's a single observation.
Okay, and you didn't see them get off later?
No,
So,
I
yeah.
was split off on my stop
Yeah.
before they were.
So you didn't get an answer to that particular question?
I saw
so-
the onboarding, but not the exit.
Okay. Well, I think that it's within Ethra's right in running this service to identify what they can and can't do. And they've pretty firmly told us they can't handle 5 bags. So telling them that we need 5 bags, we've had it in the RFP and so forth. Telling them we need 5 bags isn't going to make them say, yes, they can handle it. If they have made a determination that they can't. And we do have the dimensions of the bags, 12 by 7 by 22, so we could kind of figure out how much space that's taking up and whether it seems reasonable. So, just a thought.
All right. The motion on the floor is to amend the contract to allow riders with 5 bags instead of 4. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Opposed.
All right, let's go to the board. Three ayes, 4 nays. The amendment is not approved. Okay, so moving on.
I would like to make another amendment that we include citizens in the annual review process with an open meeting similar to what we had when we were meeting at the senior center.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion about that specific? Beth, you need to clear it? Yeah, okay. Right. All right, Mr. Hope, you're recognized on the amendment.
Kendall,
Amendment 2.
I would ask that not just to be at an annual deal, but if you get feedback or you see feedback in your quarterly reports with Ethra, that is discussed along throughout the year and not just at the annual review, so that we may know, and they may know, hey, this is a persistent problem or this is a persistent issue. We need to make sure we can address that before the annual review gets here.
Yes, sir. That's part of the intent of those meetings.
All right, Mr. Hammond.
I've got a question, and I should have asked it before the last vote. I didn't, so I'm asking now. And that is these motions that we're putting forth to make amendments to the contract itself. Does that preclude you all's ability to go back and negotiate these things, or does it not?
We talked about that a few minutes ago.
And I just missed it. That's why I
Okay,
said I
no,
should have asked.
It'll have to go back to Ethra. They've approved the contract in the form
Correct.
it's in the packet.
Correct. And I guess my question is, do we have to make these motions, or can the city manager, so for example, let's just say the 5 bags. I stated earlier, I'm not voting for any of it, but that's with the assumption that the city manager can go back and say 5 bags, or the city manager can take back whatever we say as part of a negotiation. That way, we aren't locking ourselves in to one thing we voted on. And then now they have to go with only one thing instead of leaving room for negotiation. So is that what we're doing? Because otherwise, yeah, I might need to vote on some of this stuff, but I don't want to lock the city manager in their negotiation by us putting stuff in instead of allowing them to put stuff in. So help me understand
Well,
that.
with that particular issue, that will lock us in, and they'll either say yes or no to 5 bags. We asked for 5 bags. We previously had 3. They compromised at 4, and that's the negotiation. If you go back and say 5 now, they'll either have to vote that up or down.
Can I comment on my motion?
Mr. Hensley?
Yeah, I would assume that my motion to include the citizens, that you would have negotiation authority, and you'd start off with quarterly meetings and then back off to annually. And then I'd end up with what I'd like is annual input from the citizens. But I don't feel like I'm taking away your negotiating ability.
All right, restate the motion. I'm sorry, we kind of got off course there. I'll try to keep us.
I have written down that Mr. Hensley's motion was for there to be citizen input at the annual review.
That's what I said.
That's what your motion is.
Yeah.
All right, and that's,
So.
it's moved and seconded.
Yes, motion and a second to put that into the contract.
Mr. Gleason?
Yes, sir, thank you. Ms. Rackford, come back to you on the compliance with the renewal of options. Placing citizen feedback into the option year renewal process is going to require some sort of boundary that I would imagine can get fairly complex around satisfaction surveys and scores. There has to be some level of SLA to be arbitrary, right? Or to avoid being arbitrary with the renewal, right? So if we're going to write that into the contract, right? So the next contract term, which expires June 30th of 26, you would have to back all of that up, put those mechanisms in. Ether would have to agree to those mechanisms, right? As opposed to, and Charlie, come back to you, and I think the point you're trying to make is important. I think everyone's echoed it tonight, right? We want good, hard citizen feedback in addition to Disability Advisory Board, right? We want to hear from riders. We want to find folks that may not be participating, to your point, sir, in the online forums, right? Whether that's pulsing riders, random sampling of 10% of riders on a quarterly basis with quick phone calls, something of that effect. I think a lot of that can be accomplished without amending a contract between us and another organization, right? I think if we put trust and confidence in the city manager's office, right, and Kendall, by the way, thank you for the summarization memo, that was fantastic. I think we put that confidence in the process. Really, what we have to do is our job right now is to watch that leading up until June of 2026, right? Is it working? How's the feedback? Right, we're fairly plugged into the community, right?
You say that in the motion.
You don't. Honestly, I don't think the motion, in my opinion, this motion is not necessary if we believe in the power of the city manager's office and the voice of the population to make sure that we're held accountable to the quality of the performance in the new contract. So where we're coming from the legacy contract to this new contract, and you guys are getting hammered on your negotiations, but they're actually fantastic. There's been a lot of movement from where we were to where we're going, right? The other side of this, and this is the harder pill to swallow, is the fact that we received 2 bids for this and only one of them was compliant. So while it doesn't do us a lot of good to sit there and say, hey, we're making the best out of what we've got, we've made significant strides making the best out of what we got, right? And we'll continue to kind of lean in and push on that. So that's, from my opinion, you know, we can do what we want with the motion and with contracts, but I think we can get there.
Ms. Hensley, or I'm sorry, Ms. Smith and Mr. Hensley, we're on Amendment 2, Mr. Hensley's amendment.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Gleason. We absolutely shouldn't have the contract saying that there has to be a public meeting at any frequency as part of the review of the contract. We've clearly communicated to the staff that it's the sense of council that we want public feedback on a regular basis, yearly, maybe more than yearly, something like that. We could communicate in the resolution, we could put that in writing in the resolution, that we hope that there will be public engagement annually. But I don't want to have a contract written to say that the contractor has to sit down with the city manager and the public on an annual basis. That's not the way to do this, not the way to run this. So, but I hope we can count on staff to recognize this obligation. And if council doesn't want to count on staff, we can add it to the resolution tonight, so it will be a resolution. But I don't want us to put that in the contract.
Mr. Hensley?
Yeah, I don't see how we put that in there and then assure ourselves that we get public input at the annual meeting. And I think it's really important because, you know, personally, I wish there was something, we had a different alternative other than ETHRA. I wish we had a subsidized taxi service that you could call and you'd get the person in 30 minutes, but we don't have that. This is what we got. And so I want to make sure that people have input, that this is going the best way possible with the service that we're going to have here. And the best way to do that is to get input from the public annually before we renew the contract. So I stand with my amendment.
All right, any other comments? Ms. Teeman, you have any on this particular amendment? All right. So we're on the board, the amendment, state the amendment. This is amendment number 2.
This amendment would include citizen participation in the annual review process.
All right, so one question now, in terms of what is the language that is currently in the contract related to citizen input.
There's language in the contract about citizen input where they give their comments, to ETHRA on the system. There's a new process that they're putting in place that is an online process, I believe, where they can do their comments. That's a requirement in the contract. And then, of course, the city can do its own processes, its own surveys, its own reach out. I'm pretty sure people will still give us their comment, even if we didn't reach out. But, the city would be reaching out to get those comments as well. But the city's going to have live access to that system. So ETHRA will receive those comments directly, but the city's going to have access to that system. So ETHRA is not summarizing those comments and submitting them to the city. The city will see those comments as they are submitted to ETHRA.
Right. Thank you. All right, the motion is to approve, and we're on the board. Five nays, 2 yeses, so it is not approved. All right, are there any other comments or amendments? Seeing none, or hearing none, we are back on the original motion to approve the contract as amended with the Dotson amendment. No amendments.
Both amendments failed.
Both amendments, that's right, okay. All right, we're on the board. Apologize for that. I-6, 1 nay, and the contract is approved. All right, we're now back on the regular order on the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. And it is, consent agenda is approved. The next item of business are public hearings and first reading of ordinances. And there are no public hearings required on first reading tonight.
Correct. So the first item you have under the first reading of ordinances will be an ordinance to amend the comprehensive plan's land use plan for parcels 008.00, 009.00, 010.00, and 012.00, Anderson County Tax Map 105D, Group A, located on N Lane from B, general business, to R, residential, and we will have public hearing on the second reading.
Move to approve.
Moved and seconded. Ms. Williams?
All right, so your items 7A and B are related to the same 4 pieces of property. So Val, I think I mentioned if you could pull up, we have a parcel map that I think will make it a bit easier to identify the property that we're looking at, which, as Beth stated, is 4 pieces of property on In Lane, shown on the map there on the screen. In Lane, if you're coming on South Illinois into town from Pellissippi, is on your left, right between the NOAA facility and Cardin Rentals office on one side and TK Wheeler Jewelers on the other. Are y'all familiar? It's the cul-de-sac there. So there are 2 requests in front of you this evening. The first that you're on right now is a land use map amendment for the 4 pieces of property highlighted here. The request is to change that land use from residential to business. Those 4 properties were recently purchased by a new owner. 3 of the 4 properties have existing apartment buildings on them. The new owner wishes to construct another set of apartment buildings on the 4th lot, which is vacant. But they're currently zoned B2, and commercial, which does not allow multifamily by right. So not only can they not do that construction on the vacant lot, the existing 3 lots are also non-conforming. So that's why the request is coming in front of you today. The other properties on In Lane are not requesting any change, and those will continue to be zoned B2. Again, the requested change in this item is from business to residential on the land use map. Staff supports this change, as does the Planning Commission, who voted to recommend approval at their meeting in July.
All right, questions for Ms. Williams? Ms. Smith?
Just a comment, I believe that this was business because this was part of the old Holiday Inn.
That may be
Back
correct.
in the day, which is why it's called In Lane. But it was a commercial business then. It was part of the hotel operation. So
I think I looked at the
That's all.
original zoning map, and it was a bit hard to read, but I believe those properties have been zoned B2 since that
Well,
original time.
It was
even though the
basically
apartments were
part of the
built later.
Holiday Inn when I moved here, so I
Interesting.
recall that. So just a thought.
Mr. Tinsley?
Yeah, it was not, it was not part of the Holiday Inn. It was rental apartments. And we called them the Holiday Inn Apartments, but they were residential.
All right. With that history lesson, are we ready to vote? The motion is to approve, and we're on the board. Ayes 7, no nays, and it is approved. Item B,
So you just approved the land use map amendment. This is the zoning change that follows from B2 general business to R4 multiple family residential district. Again, staff and the Planning Commission are recommending approval.
Okay, I need a motion and a second.
Sorry.
Thank you.
moved and seconded. Any other questions or comments for this particular item? Ms. Smith?
Yeah, I have a bunch of questions. The first one I think should be fairly simple, and that is that going through this, I got really confused about the numbering of street numbers on In Lane. The application talks about house numbers, I guess, 104, 105, 106, and 107, and the proposed ordinance refers to 104, 105, 106, and 111. Is there confusion on somebody's part between what's 107, what's 111?
I can speak on it. Yeah.
Well, and I will say that was something that I noted when we were working on the ordinance. So if, on page 2 of the ordinance, I actually footnoted it, just so that there's a little bit of history on it. But there is a discrepancy between the state GIS and then how the city numbers those. Oh. So what the applicant has on there, I believe, is how the state addresses those properties, how those are listed, but that is not the actual city addresses. So we listed the city addresses.
And the parcel numbers are correct.
Yes.
Okay, so,
As well.
yeah, I figured the parcel numbers were correct, but I was wondering why I was confused about the numbers, and you've explained that nicely. Next question or comment. the applicant requested R4 zoning, but the proposed ordinance calls for a PUD, R4 with a PUD overlay. And I was having trouble understanding what elements of the proposal make it a PUD, and whether
Nothing.
the information in front of us is regarded as a preliminary master plan for a PUD, which council's supposed to approve.
There's not going to be. That's going to be typographical, and that's going to be something I did not notice when I gave a draft of an old ordinance for someone to go off of when they drafted that ordinance. I didn't even go in and notice that the PUD language stayed on it. That comes out. We need to remove the PUD off of that.
And that would be done on second reading.
And we'll do it between first and second reading. You can go ahead and make an amendment just so that it's clear. But yeah, it is a typographical error. I
Okay.
apologize for that.
Okay, since,
Why don't you,
yes,
let's
I have
do
other
one at-
questions,
No,
but
no,
I'd be
why-
happy taking care of that one item.
Why don't
Yeah.
you take care of that and then go to your next one, okay?
Yes,
before
yes.
we
So I propose as an amendment that we remove the statements about PUD from the.
Second.
Yeah.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we're back to Ms. Smith.
Okay, well, that helps with some of my questions here. One other observation was that, that got me confused, was that the number of units versus, the number of units that I could see on the maps in their proposal versus the number of units that they described in their calculation for parking. When I went, I assumed that the applicant was proposing to use the existing buildings for the number of occupants that are there now, and then was going to add 24 units on the rear lot, which is either 107 or 111. And that added up, they added that up to a total of 48 units. But when I counted up the number on each place, it added up to 68 units. And that, because there's the building in the front, which has 12 units. Then they were going to do 24 units on the new property. Then there were two other buildings, and I don't have the picture in front of me because I'm reading my notes instead of looking at the picture. But I was rather confused about how much there was going to be on this site. And their parking calculation was based on 48 units.
Yeah, I see the confusion. I guess what I'll say in this is a conceptual plan from the applicant that they are not held to. I guess we didn't review it for confirming how many units would be there.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it's. Yeah,
We also have a
this is the-
representative of the applicant here who may be able to speak to that as well.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that would be helpful. So. Uh-huh.
Right.
Just kidding. Do you have a button?
Okay. You're on.
Amy Sherrill, I'm the architect at 902 North Central, Knoxville. The map that we provided is just an illustration of us looking at different options. The intent would be that we would provide adequate parking to the zoning that would go through all those approvals. I think that the count number actually comes into play because one of those existing complexes is sort of removed.
Yes.
Whereas the others are contiguous. And I think when we were looking at parking, it was looking at the ones around the cul-de-sac as being a little more common, whereas the one farther towards Illinois is more isolated. And so I think that's where some of the confusion is, looking at how maybe there's some shared parking across the ones that are more adjacent to one another.
Okay, yeah, the building in front it looks like it has about 12 spaces and it has 12 units, apparently, so. And that led to another thing I wondered about, was whether it's really reasonable for this development, and this is, this is in our zoning code, that says you need two parking spaces for every occupiable unit. And that makes sense in many parts of the community, and often two isn't enough, given the number of cars people seem to have. But it appears to me, cruising this site, that people who live there don't have large families. It's very small living quarters. And requiring 2 parking spaces for each one of those is probably excessive, given that you only require 1 for a hotel, and it ought to be somewhere between a hotel and a standard apartment complex. That's not something that we can deal with on the floor tonight, but it's something that seems to me ought to be considered if this development goes forward in the way that I think it's probably intended. So that's really a comment for staff, I think, to see what kind of creative thinking could be done, because it struck me that the concepts showed an awful lot of parking, and it'd be desirable not to have quite that much parking. Okay, what other notes did I have here? I think I may have taken care of them all. Oh, yeah, one other was the interesting observation that the 2 parcels in the back, 106 and I guess 107, cover a lot of land. Much of the 7.9 acres in the entire development is there. But those 2 parcels cross East Fork Poplar Creek. They span both sides of the creek, including the floodplain and the floodway and wetlands, and actually areas that have sediment-bound mercury in them that shouldn't be dug up if we can help it. And I just thought that there ought to be some sense of just how much usable land there is in this parcel when we talk about it, rather than how much total land there is. And I have no idea what the owner is likely to want to do with the other side of the creek, but that's...
At this point, we haven't talked about anything on the other, access alone is an issue, and so we've been focused only on the buildable area that's in that area at this point.
Yeah, well, one of the memos talked about 7.9 acres, and I said, well, then most of that's not really buildable or even usable. You can't get to it from the rest of the property because of the creek in between. But I've had my questions answered, so thank you.
All right, are there any, thank you. Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we are on the board to approve the request as amended on first reading.
Do we have to vote on the land use plan and then the rezone?
We've already voted.
About to go to sleep.
Did you get it?
No, she's got to redo it.
Okay, there you go.
Ayes 7, no nays, and it is approved on first reading. Next item of business, Madam Clerk.
An ordinance to amend ordinance number 2, titled the zoning ordinance of the city of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, by amending the zoning map which is made a part of the ordinance by changing the zoning district of Development Area 5 in Horizon Center Industrial Park off Renovair Boulevard, Roane County, Control Map 021, Parcel 002.04, containing approximately 96.5 acres from IND2 Industrial to IND3 Industrial.
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions for staff? Any comments by council? Seeing none, the motion is to approve, and we're on the, Ellen?
Yeah, I continue to have concerns about the use of this area for heavy industry, in part because I know historically this was supposed to be our clean industrial park for light industry, and that has been changed in fact over time, given what's moved in there. There were some questions raised about the legality of doing this in the face of the history of the deed and the environmental review that DOE did. I'm hoping that the city attorney or somebody can address the analysis that you did in looking into those questions.
Sure. So back in 2022, we had the same issue when TriSoX came for a rezoning for Development Area 6 from IND2 to IND3. And at that point, the question was asked about whether or not we could rezone. Granted, City Council can rezone the property. The deed restriction is a different issue. But there is a deed restriction on the property. It does allow heavy industrial use. There is reference in the covenants and conditions, the CCRs out there on the property, that talks about IND2. What's important to note back then when that was created is the city only had IND1 and IND2, and now the city has IND1, IND2, and IND3. IND2 was split into IND2 and IND3. So back when we rezoned TriSoX between first and second reading, I did reach out to DOE, to their Office of General Counsel, and spoke with them to make sure that the action that City Council was taking wasn't going to create any issues with the environmental assessment that was done, that it didn't create any issues to do another NEPA analysis. And I was assured at that time that DOE was fine with that. They looked through all the information that I gave them. I separately sent to all of City Council, I believe on Friday, a copy of that memo again, just so that you would have that information. And also sent it to DOE last week to EM, because they had sent something as well. So from the city standpoint, you're good to rezone the property. And I think on DOE's the standpoint from their Office of General Counsel, we were assured that use was a use that was evaluated as part of the original EA.
Mr. Coco, you want to address council?
Good afternoon, good evening. Doug Colclasure, 103 Monticello Road, Oak Ridge. Thanks for the opportunity to comment on this. The proposal that the BWX has asked for the rezone is markedly different use than the TriSo. It was stated in your work session, enriched uranium production facility, 1 million square feet. So you're about to rezone for that kind of an operation in the middle of a conservation district. There's conservation lands on all sides of this. Have you reviewed this with all of those stakeholders? Deb Pearson, I don't know if you know, Pearson Properties, she has an office directly across the street. Have you spoken with her? Is she okay with having an enriched uranium production facility next door? Have the other property owners? Remember, all of this area out there was addressed as IND2. The greenways, the wildlife management area. Have you talked to U.S. Fish and Wildlife? They're one of the trustees of the Bourse area, which parallels it on the side. Have you spoken with them? Are they okay with this? I mean, you're making a slippery slope, to use a term Councilman Hope used last. When you put an enriched uranium production facility, 1 million square feet in the middle of a conservation area, have you talked to Heritage Center, K25 site? One of the senior managers at BWXT said they looked at K25 and that site was fine for their work. They also looked at the Heritage Center site. The decision was made by their senior manager, not even located in Oak Ridge, to use the greenfield. We're going to put an enriched uranium production system, 1 million square feet in a greenfield, and we've spent 15 years cleaning up sites. You look at all the press releases on this. Every one ends with, we're going to repurpose this. We've got a project here that fits the description of billions of dollars being spent, and we're going to put it in a greenfield, and this is okay. Is this a slippery slope? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Colclasure. Mr. Heeman, you have any comments on the response?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, any other members of the audience wishing to address council? Any other members of council? Any more comments?
Well, this is just public thank, Mr. Colclaser for the very detailed information that he sends and the work that he puts into that. I just wanted to acknowledge that.
All right, the motion is to approve on first reading. I-6, 1 nay. And the ordinance is approved on first reading. We're now on resolutions. Madam Clerk.
A resolution authorizing the transfer of a surplus 1994 rescue truck to Morgan County Rescue Squad, Morgan County, Tennessee, at no cost for their use.
Move for approval.
Second.
Chief?
Mayor, Council, good evening. The item before you tonight is a 1994 model Navistar 4900 rescue truck. We were spending our reserve pool for years. It's time she moves on. Morgan County Rescue Squad chief actually wrote me a couple months ago, heard wind that we was going to surplus this truck and said they could really use the truck. And I recommend we give this to them at zero cost to help our neighbors.
Great. Any questions for Chief Solomon? Seeing none, the motion is to approve. We're on the board.
I always
okay.
wonder why our used-up vehicles are of such great interest to other agencies. Do you have any perspective on that?
Well, they are very expensive to purchase brand new. The longer wait times, lead times on these, such as our new tower truck we have sitting out here that we waited 2 years on, even the cost of used fire apparatus has actually increased. And you see more people now going towards, can we get something used to get us by? Not only that, but also the funding that these volunteers, they don't get the funding to purchase new vehicles. So they rely on surplus vehicles to help them so they can support their community.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Hope.
Chief, this truck is now over 30 years old. To the best of our ability, we have this truck in the best shape that we can have it. I know it's been in our reserve fleet. Maintenance schedule is probably not as tight as one that's on the active fleet. Is this truck, to the best of our knowledge, roadworthy for them to use and give them service into the future?
To my knowledge, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Chief Solomon? Seeing none, the motion is to approve. We're on the board. I-7, no nays, and the resolution is approved. Next resolution, Madam Clerk.
A resolution authorizing a professional services agreement with CTI Engineers Incorporated, Knoxville, Tennessee, for engineering services in connection with repairs to the Louisiana and Orchard Lane water reservoirs in an amount not to exceed $106,000.
Move to approve.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Flynn.
This is a contract just for design services and then inspection during construction. We have found water leaking out of the Orchard Reservoir. We've got water running down the hill behind it. And it does have chlorine in it. It does appear to be coming out of the tank. We've got a small leak in the Louisiana Reservoir that's actually seeping in. It's up high on the wall. It's above the normal water level. Appears to be groundwater. And it could not leak in because of the hydrostatic pressure. So it's a small leak. It's up high. These tanks have fortunately been very, very trouble-free. I repaired a leak in the wall in Orchard like 20 years ago. We just drilled it and grouted it, and that's what I expect to do again here. So anyway, this contract is just simply for the design of that and for the use of their submergible robots so that we can get better pictures of it.
Any questions for Mr. Flynn? Seeing none, the motion is to approve. Ms. Smith?
Yeah, not about the contract per se, but if the, once repairs are being done on this, indicated that the tanks will have to be drained? Or the tanks will have to be drained during repairs? Is that correct? If when repairs are done?
We will end up draining the tank, and that's
Okay.
part of the reason I want to use the robot, is only drain it once.
Yeah, and I just wondered whether people are going to be, when the reservoirs are going to be out of service, will that have an impact on customers' water availability or pressure in the areas that they serve?
What ends up happening, we can move water back and forth between those because they're basically at the same elevation. We've got control valves up along the upper ridge that we can control the direction of that water. So for the time that it's out, we can still feed out of the other reservoir, but we'll only do one at a time.
Yeah, okay, so the community doesn't need to be worried about this?
They probably won't even know it.
Okay, good, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, the motion is to approve. Ayes 7, no nays. Resolution is approved. Next resolution, Madam Clerk.
A resolution authorizing the purchase of AMI advanced metering infrastructure, base stations, and associated hardware from Census USA Incorporated in the amount of $136,728.34.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Cross?
Mayor, before Mr. Cross gets started, I'd like to say one thing. This will probably be his last item presented at one of these council meetings, so I would like you to make it extra tough on him tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Heyman. I appreciate that vote of confidence. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of council, this is to authorize a purchase of 4 AMI base stations to support the AMI rollout that we've been doing. We currently have 692 meters on the AMI working currently, and the project is taking off really well. There was an oversight on our part. Back in 2021, a resolution was presented to council that y'all approved, but it contemplates some additional approval from y'all at this time to do this. So we do need this to continue with the rollout. So this is for $136,000 for four base stations, and this will support the AMI rollout up until next year, and we'll be coming back at that time and looking at some additional base stations. But that's what this is for.
All right. Comments, council? Questions for Mr. Cross? Anyone? I have one. So when it comes back up next year, you're going to come back?
If y'all would like to have me back, I'll certainly be here to support it.
Just go ahead and put it on your
Yes,
calendar, okay? All right, the motion is to approve. Ayes 7, no nays. Resolution is approved. And Mr. Cross, thank you for your service and everything you've done. during
Thank you all.
Your tenure here.
Thank you, Dave.
We
Appreciate it.
It has been a great, great honor working with y'all, working with the city. The employees have been tremendous. Had great leadership in the city I've worked for, and you guys have been absolutely terrific. I've told a lot of folks, and I don't want to make you look bad, but I've told everybody that y'all have supported everything I've presented to you. And, and I appreciate that greatly, because we have tried to work really, really hard to bring some improvements, and so thank you all so much. It's a great honor.
Thank you.
Next item of business, Madam Clerk.
A resolution waiving competitive bids and authorizing the city to renew the lease with Flock Group Incorporated, Atlanta, Georgia, for license plate readers for the police department in an amount not to exceed $52,000.
Move for approval. Moved and seconded. Captain Tedford, didn't see you over there under the.
Yes, sir. I'm hiding.
Keeping a low profile tonight, aren't you?
I'm trying. Yeah. All right, so this is of the two items I've got, this is the first for Flock Safety. It's a renewal of our the police department's lease for our license plate readers. In 2020, the police department began contracted with Flock Safety to have our license plate readers. These have proven very successful. They've been instrumental tools in our investigations, recovering stolen vehicles, identifying wanted persons, locating abducted, runaway, and lost persons. We've had several of those. There are 16 of these installed in the city. This is for a one-year lease of LPRs. This will all come out of the police department's general fund budget. In the past, it has been paid for by DOE and in a combination last year with us and DOE. This year, it's all us, not to exceed $52,000.
Okay. Mr. Hensley?
Sorry.
Okay. Any other questions for Captain Tedford or comments? Seeing none, the motion is to approve. Ayes 7, no nays, and the resolution is approved. I believe you have the next one too, Captain.
Yes, I do. This is for our SRO grant for this fiscal year. Since FY '24, the police department has received $525,000 each year. It's for $75,000 for each school, 7 schools, 4 elementaries, 2 middle schools, and the high school. This year, the state has opened up funding for our alternative school as well. So we'll be applying with your approval for 8 SROs, funding for 8 SROs for a total of $600,000.
Move for approval? Absolutely.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments? I think you've probably heard the unanimous comments on this. So thank you for all you're doing. And we thank the state for their support of our SRO program. So the motion is to approve, and we're on the board. Ayes 7, no nays,
Thank you all.
and the resolution is approved. Next resolution, Madam Clerk.
A resolution renaming the North Ridge Trail to honor Leanne and Bill Russell.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Hedrick.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. On behalf of Dr. Dan Robbins, I'm very pleased to present this resolution to rename the North Ridge Trail after Bill and Leanne Russell. They were renowned researchers at Oak Ridge National Laboratory, first moving here in 1947 and performing groundbreaking research at the lab, world-renowned work. In addition to that, they did a tremendous amount of environmental advocacy, including helping to found the Tennessee Citizens for Wilderness Planning in the mid-1960s, helping to pass the National Wild and Scenic Rivers Act, any number of things, including helping to create the North Ridge Trail to preserve the greenbelt on the north side of Oak Ridge. In honor of their work and their contributions to the community, Dr. Robbins has requested that the trail be renamed the Leanne and Bill Russell North Ridge Trail. I'm happy to take any questions.
Ms. Smith.
Yeah, I'd just like to comment first that the application, I think, came on behalf of the whole Recreation Parks Advisory Board, which supported this earlier. Dan was merely submitting on their behalf. But I very much support this. I think Lee and Bill would be thrilled to have this area named for them. And I want to say that their daughter, Evie, who lives in Oak Ridge, is apparently out of town right now. But it would be very nice if she could be here tonight to participate in this. And we definitely need to do something to recognize the renaming when she's available to participate, because she deserves to be here for that. And she said her parents were very proud of the North Ridge Trail. And so this is very important for them for her to be engaged on their behalf, basically. So appreciate this. This is a worthwhile thing to do.
Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, the motion is to approve. Ayes 7, no nays, and it is approved, and we'll work on that recognition at an appropriate meeting or event, Ellen. All right, next resolution, Madam Clerk.
A resolution approving a memorandum of understanding between the city and JME LLC and M&P Land LLC regarding the development of approximately 6.5 acres on Wilson Street.
Second. Mr. Heeman?
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is a memorandum of understanding. It's very common practice when you reach this point in a development to have a memorandum of understanding. I will say again, it's non-binding, but it does set forth kind of the expectations between the parties as you work through an agreement like this. Urban sites have lots of issues associated with them. We will be relocating some stormwater in assistance. There will be a number of things that we need to do, but I will remind you of a few things, and that is the land bank currently has this under contract for $2 million. Tim Elliott and JMT have an agreement with UT Battelle related to bringing PhD students and interns down here. So there is a really good pattern here for us of bringing bodies into our downtown area. This development will require some assistance with utilities, as I mentioned, parking. And I will say one other thing about every development I've seen that Tim Elliott is involved in. It has a very defined people element. This will have a food truck court as part of it. One of the keys to creating a successful downtown is bringing in people on a regular basis, and Mr. Elliott has been good with that in all the developments I've seen him do. So that will be part of it. And with that, this covers a lot of topics. I'm sure you've looked through it, but in essence, it defines the fact that there's $500,000 out there that's been dedicated toward a park, and that we will assist in that park and all the things that would be in there. And this will end up being a public space in the park. It also, on the developer side, lays out the expectations for what you're going to build and when you're going to build it. And you will note in here that the first phase, the first building, will be designed and permitted by September 26, and construction commencement on September of 2026. So lays out there are 3 buildings, lays out the timelines for those in here. So this just sets the general expectations. This will be followed by a more detailed development agreement at some point. I'd be happy to take questions.
Mr. Hensley?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. I can't figure where the land bank commented or got a chance to review this MOU.
The land bank did not, because this is between the city and the developer. The land bank approved their contract, but the land bank won't be doing any of these things that the city will be doing to support the development, so they were not a party to this.
The other question is over on page 123 of our packet, talking about leasing of 80 parking spaces at the developed to be used for public parking at no cost to the public. At the city's option, said parking spaces may be located in Phase 1 service parking garage or divided among the 2 parking. The lease price will be $42 a month per parking space, $3,360 per month, or $40,220 per year for a 10-year term. Who is paying the lease fee for the parking places?
The city will be paying that. That'll be built into a future. And the construction of a deck. I will tell you, in a lot of these kind of projects, the city would be building the deck and leasing it back. Okay. So this is, trust me, I shouldn't put it this way, but trust me, this is a good deal. It is very fair, but the developer's got a defined program that will help them pay for the deck. So they've asked us to lease spaces, and that's what this is.
Thank
in
you.
essence.
You've been there and I haven't, so that's, the other, let's see, I had one other question. What was it? Well, the drawing shows a roundabout on Rutgers. Is that part of the project?
That is not part of the project. That is something that had been contemplated at one point, but that is not something we would be building or designing. It could be looked at in the near future.
It'd be
but
a great place for a roundabout, that's all I can say. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for the manager, Ms. Smith?
Yeah. There there's definitely some city obligations in this, and I think that's important that we'd be responsible for making sure the infrastructure is available. Is there any kind of a ballpark estimate of what the city's investment is going to have to be in this?
It will be several $100,000 until we can look at the pipe locations. You know, in essence, there's a 54-inch storm drain. And for those of you that don't know it, it runs underneath the middle of the Staples. It is the creek that goes through Bissell Park. But it is collected, it starts up in this area. That will have to be rerouted over on the side close to the Chicken Salad Chick and those businesses that come out there. And I'd really, it will be expensive. There is no doubt about that. But that is the reason that we agree in theory this is non-binding. You know, if it comes out to be $4 million, we'll be having a new conversation. But my expectation is it's going to be several $100,000 to move that. And that's probably the biggest piece of the infrastructure. There are some services to businesses that cut through this site that will have to be removed, but those are, I think, relatively minor. But that's why we do an MOU, is so that we can dig into that. We come back with a development agreement that spells it all out in detail. Once we know the exact footprints, the exact needs of all the utilities.
Yeah, but it's not an unaffordable amount.
It is, should not be.
Yeah, good.
And you also have to keep in mind the payment for the land is, you know, at a premium. In some ways, strengthening the land bank with this will help support affordable housing and things in other areas. So we have to keep the big picture in mind, and also the fact that there's going to be several $100,000 a year of additional tax income for us. So we'll put all the pieces of that puzzle together and bring it back in agreement form.
Mr. Tinsley.
Just out of curiosity, what is a flagged hotel? I saw that as referenced in there.
That would be a brand hotel, just a
Brand name
a brand
hotel.
name.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't think that's their number one desire there. I think they still want to do the active adult housing, but I think that's in as a backup in case that market, for some reason, that's at the very end of this project. And if that market happens to fail, and I believe they know there will always be need for additional hotels here.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, we're on the board. The motion is to approve. Ayes 7, no nays. The resolution is approved. Next item of business is appearance of citizens. Citizens shall be permitted to address City Council about matters that are not on the formal agenda tonight. Any citizen wishing to do so shall raise your hand, proceed to the lectern, and after recognition, state your name and address and the purpose of your appearance before council. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes and shall relate to matters of city business. They shall not generally result in formal response or action at the time of the presentation, because in most cases, neither council nor the staff will be prepared to respond effectively. However, I may answer the question, direct the city manager to do so, or have the city manager work with the citizen to effect resolution of the matter. Statements that are purely political in nature will not be allowed, such as campaign speeches or announcements of candidacy for office, nor will announcements of a civic or social event that is unrelated to city business. Yes, ma'am.
Joy Henderson, 103 Paris Lane. First, I want to thank Smith and Hammond because they were supportive of not doing this development on the corner of Illinois and Lafayette. Then I want to thank Beth Hickman and Mike at the library are helping me research this one thing I'm still trying to find, and I'll come back to you guys when I get that answer. The rest of what I have to say does not apply to these two people. At the last meeting, you didn't at the beginning of the meeting you didn't say, but all of a sudden the right out on Illinois was nixed. So that's going to be disastrous for Paris Lane. You might as well put up a big old neon sign that says Paris Lane is open for business. Someone suggested to me that I should get a business license, put a toll booth at the end of Paris, and then charge a toll for anybody that wants to go up that street that doesn't live on that street. That's kind of funny. I don't think that would happen. But anyway, at the last meeting, I think this is a big one. I think that I was discriminated against because the developer got to speak twice, and I only got up once and spoke, and then you cut me off, and I only had about 5 more seconds. But I just think that that was wrong of you. You should have said, come back and talk again, which is what the developer did. Somebody in the audience said to me after I sat down, she said, the city council did you wrong. They should have let you finish. Let's say I did something else. So shame on you for not letting me talk for 5 more seconds when you let him talk twice. I'm still looking into this one question I have about what the city council said, but I haven't been able to narrow down the year. I'm getting close to, I think it's about 2013, so that's what I've been doing at the library. But anyway, just wanted to, thank you.
Thank you. Any other, Mr. Colclasure?
Doug Colclasure, 103 Monticello Road. Thanks for the opportunity to make a few more remarks. I've shown you this March 2025 event out at the TRISO-X project where the silt fencing was inadequate. It led us to the lengthy work session where we talked about silt management control. You know, we've had considerable awareness. So last week I was out at the BWXT site, and guess what I saw? Precisely this. Like nobody heard. I don't know how you communicate with the development community that these requirements that are clearly stated in our city, city codes are part of a construction permit, a building permit. How do you communicate that these are not communicated to the developer? I even, before this disaster occurred at the TRISO site, I raised this point. Anybody could walk out there and tell you a 3-foot piece of fabric is not going to protect the healthy waters programs that the city has. It's overwhelmed immediately. And the BWX project that got overwhelmed was 3/10 of an inch of rain. I asked about putting these pictures up on the screen, but that's not permitted. But I could bring the BWX pictures, and they look exactly like this. With the silt just ripping over the fence right into the exclusion area. That was another issue about this rezoning. Rezoning allows significant external impacts. Well, here's an example of what rezoning can lead to. Anyway, hopefully we can work with the development community. Is it the people running the controls on the machines? Is it the construction engineer? Is it the contractor? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Teeman, if you would maybe respond to that at either now or the next.
I will tell you that Mr. Pessmir's got a meeting scheduled on this topic, and he is absolutely correct. That is not acceptable. So staff will come up with solutions and enforce those solutions. It is not acceptable.
And that meeting is when?
That meeting is, I believe, this week, Thursday. Yes.
And can we, it would be helpful to get a memo or a report on that at your all's convenience prior to a work session, okay?
Certainly. Thank you.
All right, any other citizens wishing to address council? All right, we are to request from council for briefings or business items. are any? Seeing none, Mr. Heeman, your report?
Thank you. I feel like David Letterman, the late night show tonight. We have about 1,000 customers that are going to get a notice from the UBO about utility statements arriving late. We will certainly work with them on that. But just to let you know, that'll be explained. We had some issues with those bills going out, and there will be no penalties or late fees on any of those, and we'll work with folks. Last call for the pool, the puppy pool party. Sorry, I struggle with that. Is August 17th from 4 to 6. And the last day of the pool is the 17th from 11 to 7. But we had a good year at the pool this year. We'll get some numbers to you at the end of the season. If you didn't notice it on the way in, I think it'll still be out there when you leave, our new fire truck. And I believe they were going to have some of the equipment out on it when we go back out tonight. But this is our new truck. And it does have some pretty extreme capabilities with the pads to tilt the truck and get things at some angles that we could not do in the past. But that'll be available for you to look at that on the way out. The experimental project with Shift Thermal is underway. You can see that on the picture on the lower right-hand side. The Civic Center's chiller is that test bed, and that is underway. Also, our Atomic Fall Fest tickets are on sale. There's a car show associated with this, and a lot of different things. I know we're going to have vendors and other things out there. You can see the website for tickets. We've got several new employees. I won't read all their names, but started this month, and also we do have 3 folks that were promoted, Nadine Kluwer, David Vasquez, and Matthew Roby, who has taken over as the animal control supervisor for us. Was in that job on an interim basis and did a great job, and has agreed to continue to serve there, and he'll do a great job. And I believe with that, I'll take questions if you've got any.
Questions for the manager?
City Manager, do we have an event this Saturday? Is it with Explore Oak Ridge? Cars for Canines, is that correct? I just wanted to make sure that we still.
That is correct. Cars for Canines, it's Melton Hill, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, this weekend, and
10 to 2, I believe. Where is it?
at Melton Hill Lake. Yeah.
Any other questions? Ms. Rackers, you got a report? All right.
Mr. Mayor, we have one more thing. So we have a star in our midst for anyone who went to the free medical clinic event on Saturday night. If you didn't, we're gonna show you a quick little excerpt of the winning dance. We raised over $12,000.
Let's make sure they know we love them. Give a big shout out.
What's up?
Good. How about we start from something from your childhood? We'll start with the 80s. Yes, I'm her favorite song.
What you got? What you got?
$15,000 was raised
Yeah.
the other night, so we just wanted to,
They were a large part of it, too.
yes.
Mr. Hammond, all I can say is if you get tired of preaching, you can take your show on the road.
I do want to publicly thank all of you all for your support. You were there and you supported and everybody. So just really thank you so much for that.
And we are adjourned, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all.
That's the way to go out. You didn't know I was going to do that. That was good.
I've been there before, I was out of town.